everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Huddle Up Moms for the 2020 Roanoke Pregnancy and Postpartum Resource Summit. Today we are joined by Erin Knuckles. She is from Lunar Elm, and our session today is going to be prenatal meditative yoga session. Thank you for joining us, Erin. It is so nice to see you. I'm excited to get to be able to participate in this today. Erin is actually doing a session today, so if you have any questions, you can definitely click on the chat box and I can stop Erin or ask her while she's doing it. If not, I'll just let Erin do her stuff and enjoy.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much to Huddle Up Moms for hosting this summit. As mentioned, my name is Erin Knuckles. I'm the founder and owner of Lunar Elm Wellness based in Blacksburg, Virginia. Today we'll be doing a prenatal yoga and meditation session. So as I give this little introduction, I'll just show you some of the props that I'll be using and give you some ideas for things that if you don't typically practice yoga or you don't have yoga props at home, I'll share with you some alternatives that you can use that are just as good as yoga props in general. But basically what I've got here is a heavy pillow. This is called a bolster in the yoga world, but if you have a cushion for a for a couch or something like that, serves the purpose just as well, just a kind of thick pillow. I've got a blanket here. Other things that can be used in lieu of a blanket are towels also, just to provide a little extra support and padding. And then I'll be using blocks today. We'll use them underneath the hands to kind of lift the floor to us. So if you don't have any yoga blocks, you can use thick or heavy books to serve the same purpose. And we'll get into a shape later that you might enjoy having blocks in addition to just say some like throw pillows or something like that. And maybe a squishy pillow as well. So because we're going to come into a yoga recliner, I'll show you how to get into a yoga recliner, which might be something you want to try at home. So that's the introduction to the props portion of the practice today. But just to give you a little bit more information about my training and my work, I'm currently in the process of going through a 300-hour yoga teacher training where I have taken specializations in prenatal and postpartum care for yoga and meditation specifically. I'm also trained in deep meditation practices and have been teaching yoga nidra or yogic sleep for about 5 years now. And in addition to that, I'm working through extended certifications that focus more specifically on prenatal work. And that's all in addition to my 200-hour yoga teacher training, which I finished in 2014. So I'm also trained as a doula. I have done the training necessary to become DONA certified, and I'm in the process of working through that certification. So if any of you are familiar with that type of birth support, that is another specialty that I work in. I love working with birthing people and their partners to increase opportunities for communication, both with themselves and also with each other. I think that's really helpful to the birthing room. What you practice in your prenatal serves you really well in the laboring environment. Just the opportunity to be with your own experience and to move through that experience, whatever is coming up for you. So in the spirit of that, this practice will encourage all of you, because I can't see you, so I'm a little less able to give you specific support. So what I ask of each of you is just to practice what we in the yogic community call ahimsa, which is the act of nonviolence. And really what that means in this space is that you're taking responsibility for your own choices in your own body, and whatever you're experiencing is relevant and real. So acknowledge it, and if it's not serving you, then trying something different. And I'll try to provide a lot of opportunity for space in free movement and options, so that you can feel most adept at making choices for yourself in this environment. So with that, let's go ahead and start our yoga practice together, and then we'll get into our meditative shapes towards the end. We'll take the last 15 minutes or so and do a little bit of a yoga nidra or relaxation practice. So kind of an extended shavasana if you're used to practicing yoga in other spaces. You may have heard of relaxation pose, shavasana. So we'll do an extension of that and focus more on deep relaxation and yoga nidra. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. So thank you so much, Courtney, Gail, Jesse, and Katie for coming today. And for anybody watching this video at home, please just go ahead and kind of follow those same rules. Just checking in with yourself, listening to your body, and doing what works best for you. So we begin in a seated posture, optimally propping your hips up above your knees, simply because this helps with the circulation and also gives you a little bit more steady grounding on your sit bones, so that you might find more comfort in this shape. And feel free to take any variation of cross-legged, feet out in front, or maybe bottoms of the feet together if you really enjoy that butterfly type shape for yourself. We'll take 3 deep breaths just to shift into the energy for our practice. Taking a deep inhale, and depending on the stage of pregnancy that you're in, maybe that inhale moves into your low belly, or perhaps focused more on expansion through your rib cage from side to side. And just taking as deep of a breath as feels comfortable for you today. And taking a long, slow exhale out your mouth or out your nose, yogi's choice. And we'll do 2 more of those. Maybe making a small sound as you exhale. With that last exhale, perhaps bringing your gaze down towards the floor or closing your eyes completely. And taking a minute or so to settle into your own experience right now. Noting what's happening with your body, physically, mentally, and emotionally. What did you come into this space with? Maybe the shape that you've selected isn't quite working for you, and you want to take a moment just to kind of wiggle back and forth or readjust. And just giving yourself permission to check in. As you become more in tune with your own personal experience today, perhaps placing your hands on your low belly or around your baby, And checking in with what they've brought to this room today as well. Perhaps picking up first on some of those more extreme movements or the extreme experiences that you're having in relationship to this beautiful creature growing inside of you. Acknowledging that it has a life of its own and carries with it its own energy, emotional, spiritual energy. And then in addition to hosting your own experience, you are also holding space for this tiny being. And taking a few deep breaths just to acknowledge the relationship that you're cultivating here and now. We'll shift from this meditative state into our pranayama work, our breathing exercise for today, and that will be the ujjayi breath, a grounding breath. Inhaling through the nose. If you haven't had this pranayama in your practice before, when you exhale, perhaps opening your mouth and exhaling like you're fogging up a mirror in the winter time. You might even visualize yourself doing just that. Creating that subtle sound with each exhale. And then seeing if you can make that same deep, low sound with your mouth closed. Extend that visualization of fogging up the mirror, and you might imagine yourself as a child writing on that piece of glass. And for today's practice, perhaps writing a word or short sentence, an affirmation of sorts, your intention for your practice today, your intention for cultivating a relationship with your baby. Whatever shows up for you. And as you step away from that visualization in your mind, using your breath to come back to the present moment, planting that word or sentence inside of your heart space. Just knowing that you're taking it with you throughout the practice today and throughout your life. As you're ready, beginning to bring your hands to heart center, taking a moment to slowly walk yourself out of that meditation. If your eyes were closed, maybe gently opening them towards the floor, letting the light in slowly. And taking your gaze up to the horizon line. If you've been on a lot of these webinars or workshops today, maybe throughout your week, giving yourself a moment to do a big teenager eye roll to both sides, little eye yoga, the infinity symbol, figure eight through your eyes as you roll them from side to side, looking away from the screen intentionally, really focusing your gaze in other places around your room. Starting with your eyes and then settling them somewhere in front of you. And that can be on the screen if you'd like, but of course, more than welcome to always look away from the screen and just glance back if something feels confusing or you're uncertain of a shape. But just know that you and your body is trustworthy, and whatever you're doing, if it feels good and safe for your physical body, it is serving you. So while I'm here to guide, you know your body best. And take a nice big deep exhale, and as you exhale, tucking your chin in towards your chest, tailbone comes slightly forward, rounding through your spinal column. Inhale, opening the arms like wings out to the side, letting the chest rise up towards the sky, the heart risen. Exhale, finding that rounding position once again. Inhale, opening like wings out to the side. Working back and forth with your own breath at your own pace. Exhale, rounding. Inhale, lifting through neutral and lengthening out through the spine. Finding that flexion on the exhale. Inhale, extension as the heart opens. The shoulder blades reach back towards one another. And the next time that you bring the hands back into the front space, rounding the spine, coming back through neutral spine, bringing the hands to heart center. Lengthening up from your tailbone through the crown of your head as you reach the spine tall towards the sky. Inhale, the arms come up and overhead, sweeping the arms up. Bending your left arm, your hand falls down towards your shoulder blades. Right hand comes onto left elbow, stretching the elbow skyward. Taking a few deep breaths here. Maybe finding some gentle rotation through the shoulders or tick-tocking back and forth into the side body to stretch through the rib cage. And we'll inhale, the arms come up and overhead. And if it's comfortable, clasping the fingers together and reaching the palms, flipping the palms up towards the sky and reaching towards the sky, tilting over towards your right side. Inhale through center and tipping over towards your left side. Inhale through center, finding some gentle rotation through the shoulders here in one direction. Palms kind of wiping across the sky in a circular motion. And then taking it in the opposite direction. Releasing the palms as gently as possible as you let the right arm float down towards the floor, maybe finding that book or block underneath your hand to bring the floor to you so you can continue to find length through both sides of your body. Little gentle bend in the right elbow. Option here to bring the left bicep towards the left ear, finding the stretch for yourself as you reach towards the opposite wall. Or if you'd like to open through the rib cage a little bit more, bending into your elbow and sending your shoulder blade back towards the back wall. Feel free to work dynamically here between having the left bicep on the left ear and bending and opening through the elbow. Gentle movements as you work into all of the small pieces of the arm. If you're working dynamically, benefiting from that gentle lubrication of the elbow and the shoulder. Getting fluids into all of the joints. And especially if you've been doing a lot of computer work lately, maybe working that movement into the fingers and the wrist as well. Settling in with the bicep on the ear, and then using your core muscles, so drawing in slightly through the low belly as you reach the arms skyward once again. This time dropping the right hand down towards the center of the back, left hand on right elbow. Again, reaching up towards the sky with those elbows as you find this deep stretch of the outside of your upper arm. And if you'd like to take those gentle circular movements, or take a little tick-tock from side to side, yogi's choice. Lots of options. Do what feels best for you. Couple more deep breaths here. And as you're ready, float the arms up towards the ceiling. And this time we're going to flip the palms and bring them down towards the low back. So option here to place your hands just on the base of your low back, like you're about to tuck your hands into your back pockets, or to grab your palms and interlace your fingers and find that goofy grip. So whichever one you did last time, that's probably your natural grip, and see if you can switch the grip of your hands. Either way, we're going to draw the shoulders down away from the ears. Option here to keep the gaze down and tuck the chin in towards the chest, working into the lower part of the back of the neck. Or if you'd like to lift the gaze skyward, gently tilting your chin up, lengthening through the front of your throat. And from wherever you are, squeezing your shoulder blades towards one another to find that lift and lengthen through the chest. And a nice big deep breath here. And as you're ready, releasing your fingers gently, maybe bringing that blocked or book to the opposite side, arms float up and overhead. Exhale, release the left arm down towards the floor. Finding that block or book if you've got it there, bending gently into the left elbow. And again, option here to bring the right bicep onto the right ear. Feeling into the side body stretch, working to find as much length as you can in both sides of the body. So if you feel yourself kind of collapsing into your left side body, see if you can prop yourself up just slightly and find that length. Option here to work dynamically, bringing the elbow down, maybe opening towards the back wall, settling into that shape if it's feeling good. or working dynamically between the two shapes. Couple more deep breaths here. As you're ready, stretching your bicep along your ear, using your core muscles to bring the body upright. Exhale, hands float down towards the knees. If you have your feet crossed, I'll invite you now to switch whichever foot is forward to give you just a little bit more balance on the sit bones before we work into our gentle twists. So we're going to twist first through the shoulders. So taking hands onto the shoulders and gently working into a twist from side to side, elbows rocking back and forth. And then taking the depth of comfort twist that works best for you, I'll give you a couple of options. So inhale, rising the arms up and overhead. We're going to gently twist the body towards the right side. Right arm drops back behind, floating it towards your tailbone to help keep that length through your spinal column. And here, this is going to depend a lot on where you are in your pregnancy. So dropping the left arm down towards the left knee and holding it there can be supportive at any stage of pregnancy. If you're desiring a deeper twist, maybe bringing that left hand to the center where your feet are located. You can even put a block there to support. And then if you're really early in your pregnancy, in the first trimester and maybe even the first couple of weeks, you may desire to go into a more closed twist where you bring your left hand onto your right thigh. So I'm going to stay in this more open twist position because it's more comfortable for me. But please feel free to choose the depth of the twist that works for you. We're going to hold for a couple of breaths here. So if you'd like to work into your cervical spine or into the back of your neck, please feel free to take your chin over your right shoulder. This is another great place to practice those eye rolls or eye yoga. Taking your gaze out to all corners of the room. We'll hold here for a couple of breaths, just opening through the shoulder blades, lengthening through the spine with each inhale, and with every exhale, grounding down into the earth. As you're ready, taking your gaze over towards the left side, chin follows gaze, and then the rest of the body gently follows as well. Arms come up and overhead. And find the opposite side. Again, the options are the same here. Dropping the left arm back behind, lengthening through the spine. So grounding down through that left hand to help lift and lengthen, open through the shoulders. Right arm can be placed gently on the right knee to assist in this twist, or at the center. Or again, if you're in those early stages of your prenatal, maybe in the first weeks of pregnancy, you might enjoy a more deep twist with your right hand on your left leg. As we settle into this posture, you might enjoy taking your chin over your left shoulder. And again, just practicing that eye yoga, if it feels good for you. Looking at all points of the room. And continuing to work with your breath as you inhale, lengthening up. Exhale, grounding down. Finding those points of connection and settling in. If you're practicing the eye yoga, gaze goes over towards the right side, chin follows gaze, and the rest of the body follows suit. All right, so now that we've worked into the upper body quite a bit and into the spine, we'll start to shift into the lower body. So if you've had your feet crossed for a while, we're going to gently bring the knees together. Maybe take a little movement from side to side. For me, that's going to look like bringing my feet out in front and gently shaking from side to side. Maybe the hands even float back so you can really get into that windshield wiper shape. Moving the legs from side to side. And if you like, you can bring one of your knees in. So maybe the right knee pointing the right toes towards the front of the room. And settling in for a breath, letting that hip move inward. And we'll take it to the other side. If you've come into that more static position, taking the left knee in, pointing the left toes, finding that internal rotation of the left hip. And releasing when you're ready. If you have yourself propped up on a bolster, taking your body down towards the floor. I'm going to leave my blanket here because I find it really supportive to just keeping my hips a little bit higher off the ground. So if you're using a blanket or the towel, please feel free to leave it where it is. And we'll start to work our bodies down onto the back. So from here, we are going to be doing some bridge posture. So I'll just encourage you, if you do have the blanket or the towel, keeping it towards your low back. So keeping that edge towards your low back. And you might even enjoy folding it in half so that you can ensure that you have that edge lower on your body. So we don't want it underneath the shoulder blades because we need those to be fully grounded when we lift the hips. So as you come back, gently bringing your body down, working slowly to find your way there, settling in, maybe windshield wiper the legs again, and just noticing how you feel when you lie on your back in this position. And again, that's going to be very dependent on which stage of pregnancy you're in and how your uterus and the baby are working together. So just give yourself a moment to kind of relax into what this shape feels like for you. And if Kegel exercises are in your practice, this is another great shape to utilize that time and space for that activity. And if you're not familiar with Kegel exercises, you might imagine yourself taking the muscles of your pelvic region around the space between your vagina and your anus, and imagine yourself kind of pinching those muscles together as though you're trying to pick up a tissue with those muscles. So this is the region around your the lowest part of your pelvic bowl. There's some really strong muscles within that space, and that will really help you in the birthing process to be able to control those muscles. So we'll take an inhale, pinch those muscles in, pick up that tissue, and the exhale to slowly release that sensation. And this is something that you can practice in any shape at any time of day to help support you in the birthing process later on. And we're going to mix that practice with movement. So we're going to take a little inhale and tuck the pelvic bowl up slightly as though we're working towards the top part of the tailbone, so the lower part of the back. And then as you exhale and release that Kegel muscle, you'll drop down and find the tip of your tailbone. So you're lifting your belly slightly up as you roll towards the front edge of your sit bones and the tip of your tailbone. So really subtle movement here. Just kind of rocking along the sit bones and the tailbone, the low back. Working with your breath as you inhale to gently lift, and as you exhale, gently lengthen. And if you would like to draw your shoulders down and underneath your back a little bit more, pressing into your forearms, and gently rise the hips up with an inhale and gently lower them back down towards the earth with an exhale. And again, you can work with the Kegel exercise and see if you can lengthen the amount of time that you're holding and lengthen the amount of time that you're releasing. So you're really developing that relationship to the Kegel muscle and exercising that space. Yogi's choice here, if you'd like to lift the hips a little higher, grounding into your shoulder blades and feeling your baby kind of push up towards your rib cage, just noticing how that feels for you. Grounding down through your feet and squeezing your thighs towards one another to find strength in this lift, as you might feel the uterus shifting up towards your heart. And then we're going to gently take it back down towards the earth, using your breath, all the muscles that are engaged, and the grounding through your feet to help arrive there slowly. And take as many breaths as you'd like. This doesn't have to be one breath, one movement. We're not practicing a vinyasa power flow practice. So if you want to take 2 or 3 breaths to arrive back on the earth, feel free to take that time for yourself. And really notice what you're experiencing physically in your body. And if you decide to come up and hold, I'll encourage you to keep your gaze towards the sky. So the tip of the nose and the gaze is looking up at the ceiling. If the hips are risen, the gaze is on the sky. That's just to protect your neck as you move into the lower back. And do a couple more of these. The next time that you release back down towards the earth, feel free to find any gentle movement that you might enjoy. We're going to gently shift our bodies towards the right side. We're not going to stay here for too long, but if it's more comfortable for you to come up just slightly, please feel free to do so for these next couple of ones. So I really like to prop my arm, or use my arm kind of like a pillow. And we're going to work with what is called clams and flippers. So you may enjoy putting a block or a book in between your legs, or you can even use a couch pillow for this as well. And again, if you'd like to stay slightly risen because that's more comfortable for you, please feel free to find that shape, or to come down and use your use your hand as a pillow for this. You can keep your left hand on your hip, and we're going to gently release the left knee up towards the sky, working into the back part of the hip. So this is our little clamshell opening up towards the sky. We'll take a couple repetitions of this on this side. And if you're a little bit more risen up, you might find a little bit more opening, and it's just going to look a little different than if you're lower down. But really trying to isolate that movement to the lift of the knee using the muscles at the back of the leg. And the upper back, the lower back, upper thigh. And we might rest the knee down on the block. Just give yourself a breath before we find our flippers. So I tend to remove the block just because it's a little bit too hard. But if you have a pillow in between, that can probably stay. So just play around with the prop for yourself. And we're gonna lift just the ankle and the foot. So keeping the knees together, just lifting the ankle and the foot. And take a couple more repetitions here. As you're ready, releasing and just letting your legs settle for a moment. Now I'll encourage you to take a moment to roll back onto your back and roll towards your left side. And for me, if you're watching diligently what I'm demoing, I'm going to just swap over to my left side, simply so that you don't get the hiney cam, since we're in video realm these days. So if you want to just roll back over to your left side, and we'll try this on that side as well. And again, the options are the same. So if you'd like to kind of rest your body down, please feel free to do so. If you'd prefer to stay a little bit more propped up, that's also perfectly wonderful. So just finding the shape for yourself. And if you want that block or blanket in between the legs, and we'll start with our clamshells. So the knee rises, the big toes stay together. Just noticing where you're feeling this stretch and strengthening from this shape. Using your breath, inhale, rise, exhale, fall. When you start to feel even on this side, again, just let the knee settle down before removing any props if you are. And then gently finding your flipper pose, letting the heel work up towards the sky, knees stay together. So I've seen this type of practice done with strengthening bands in physical therapy as well. So if this is something that you'd like to bring into your home practice and you have those bands, or you're working with a physical therapist, you may ask them if it's safe for you to use a little bit of resistance to help support building and strengthening these muscles. I find personally that I get a lot of work done even without those resistance bands. And when you feel ready, release the foot back down. Taking a nice big deep breath. And from this left side, we're going to gently rise up, making your way into your tabletop position. And this is a really lovely shape to practice thinking about your standing position. So one thing that's really nice about tabletop in pregnancy is that it allows your baby to kind of have a little hammock. So you can relieve some of that pressure or strain on your low back by using that hammock shape. But one other thing that we might start to learn about our own bodies is whether we have a tendency to tilt the pelvic bowl up. So you'll see I'm in extension here. I'm dropping the midsection of my back down and my tailbone is reaching towards the sky. And so we can practice strengthening and lengthening to find a neutral spine for ourselves. And the other way is true as well, right? When we're walking around and we're carrying this beautiful heavy being, we may be tucking our tailbone slightly in. And I'm over exaggerating this, but you'll notice that tucking of the tailbone in is creating a curvature in the spine. So from here in tabletop, we can practice in a safe way, finding that neutral spine and what does it feel like to hold your spine in neutral and find comfort in creating that shape and what muscles are involved and how might you take this into your standing posture. So just noticing if you tend to tuck your tailbone out or tuck your tailbone in. From here, we'll find some grounding through the hands and really just give yourself permission to move in any way that feels good for you and baby. So maybe that means taking the tailbone out slightly and kind of shaking or wagging your tail from side to side, or taking your hips all the way back down towards your heels. And if you stay on one side, that can be really nice to stretch out that outer back of the thigh and hip, and then come through neutral spine and find that other side. And just gently bobbing to find a little massage and opening through the low back and outer hip. So I'd love to just give you a few moments to find some freedom in your body in this safe shape. If you are hoping for a little bit more power or kind of heat building today, maybe you'd like to practice your balance, finding sunbird, working the foot out, and then maybe the arm out, practicing your balance. Or taking some C curves. Or again, finding those barrel rolls to get into the outer hip. Maybe you're working into the shoulders, dropping the heart down and lifting it up towards the sky. Lots and lots of options, and whatever is feeling good and safe for you and your body in this moment, just take some time, maybe close your eyes or just find a way to move your experience inward and just be with the sensations of your body, finding that movement for yourself. And there's no right or wrong way to be in your body if you feel safe and if you're listening to what you need right now. You may desire to come back to that Ujjayi breath and just feel the sensations of that gentle vibrating breath. Notice if you can send that breath a little deeper into your low belly as you exhale, sending that vibration downward. And just reinitiating or re-engaging with that intention that you set at the beginning of class. And bringing it into these free movements, this free time and space that you're giving yourself to practice. If you've done something to one side, just taking the time and space to make room for the other side as well. When you're ready, we're going to meet back in neutral spine. Start to gently take the hips back towards the heels, walking the hands back as well, coming to a seated posture, finding your hero's pose, or taking any seated shape that feels good for you. We're going to move into our relaxation shape now, and I'd like to offer two postures, both of which you can practice at home. So the first one that I'll offer, as you're in this seated posture, I'll just make the shape for you to demo. So if you want to just take a look at the screen for both and then decide which one will work best for you. But the first one is a variation of legs up the wall using a prop of some kind, maybe a bolster or a heavy pillow or a blanket that runs across the sit bones. So this is a funny one to get into because it always looks a little sillier to get into, but essentially bringing your hips up towards the bolster or onto the bolster, and then gently bringing your body down towards the floor, settling through your shoulders, and bringing your feet up towards the sky. And this can be a really nice way to relieve any pressure on your lower body, especially if you're noticing some swelling in that space. I'll gently come out and show you the other option that we've got is yoga recliner. So taking a blanket underneath your body and then finding your blocks and placing them on a medium and low height, and then placing that heavy pillow, whatever pillow you have, along those blocks. And then I really like adding a pillow to the top. So this is an option that you have here. And then once you come down, taking your tailbone along the edge of the heavy pillow and bringing some blocks or extra pillows to the side, bringing your body down and then placing that extra pillow just under your head, so above your shoulders. And then for me, I really like to be in a supported butterfly here. So I take these extra blocks, or if you've got throw pillows, those also work. And this is a really nice shape to find for yourself, relaxation shape. So I'd love to just give you a couple of minutes to find your relaxation shape. And if you have any questions about props, feel free to throw those in the chat and I'll be here to answer any of those questions.
Right. Hey, Erin, that was wonderful. Thank you so much. We had a couple people come in and then have to leave, but that was so wonderful. Thank you for taking the time to show us all those wonderful moves. If people have questions, we will be posting this later on so they're able to rewatch this again. But again, you are from Lunar Elm, that is your company, and you did a wonderful job. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So if you are in those relaxation postures right now, please feel free to stay in those shapes as long as you would like. I'll also just offer that Insight Timer is a great app that has many Yoga Nidra practices, and you can follow me on there. My handle is Lunar Elm as well. And please feel free to take some time to practice a Yoga Nidra. I'm sorry we didn't get into our finishing postures, our relaxation posture in time before we had to close out, but I really appreciate each and every one of you for sharing your practice with me today. And yes, please stay in those relaxation postures for as long as you'd like. You got a couple more minutes with our time together to get to that 1 o'clock in case you have something else that you're heading into. So just hold a little bit more space in case you have any questions. I'll be here to answer those via chat.
So we need to stop.
And if you are heading into sessions this afternoon, it is 12:58. So if you'd like to start gently making your way out, if you're in legs up the wall, gently bringing your knees down, walking your feet down along the wall, and slowly working towards your left side, making your way out of that shape slowly. And if you're in the relaxation posture of a supported recliner, and again, just gently rising your knees up if they're in that butterfly position, walking your feet in. And gently making your way out, using the props to help support you, either rising up through center or rolling towards your left side off of your props. Gently and with control. Take as much time as you need to rise up. So again, thank you so much to Huddle Up Moms for hosting this summit.
Well, thank you, Erin. That was wonderful. And we have other sessions today if anyone would like to watch them. But I'm going to end this here to move on to our next session. But thank you so much again. That was wonderful.
Thank you. Happy Saturday.
You too. Bye-bye.